So, let me give you a little bit of background on this alternator job. Somebody came to me and asked me to install an alternator on their Ford Edge. And my response to that is, well, why do we need to put an alternator in it? Do we know the alternator's bad? Has it been diagnosed? And he came to me and said, well, he has a buddy who told him that, you know, it's not charging. He has the battery is going dead. He's having to jump start it. And his buddy said that he checked for voltage, and the voltage was not a proper charging voltage. And so he trusts that his buddy knows what he's talking about. And I asked him, I said, did he do the testing on it? And he said, well, you know, I trust that he knows what's wrong. And he told me that the alternator is the most likely thing. And so I says, okay, you know, he's probably right. It probably is the most likely thing. It doesn't mean that it is what's wrong, even though it may well be the most likely thing. Maybe he got onto a popular internet platform and he watched some videos of somebody determining that their lack of charge condition on their car, whatever it might have been, even if it was the same year, make, model of car, and in that car with that scenario, it was the alternator. But in this particular case, it was not the alternator. And I understand trying to save some money on diagnosis. You know, I mean, it might cost a couple $100 to do a proper diagnosis, but something to keep in mind that when we're guessing, and we don't know for sure if that's going to take care of it. If it were my car, would I have just thrown an alternator at it? Probably not, just because of the fact that an alternator is an expensive component. I mean, if I was guessing, like, and I had like a, I don't know, a $20, $30, $50 component, and it's like, hey, it's worth a guess, and that's most likely what's wrong, or usually what's wrong. Sure, let's throw a small amount of money at it. Alternators are generally like $250, $300, sometimes more. And then there's a core charge, you know. So the core charge is going to be potentially $50, $60, maybe $20, but it's more money out of pocket until you bring the old part back. And when you're doing a job like this, I highly recommend that you do the job with the old parts there. Don't take the core back in until you've completed the job. You might need something off of that, or you might need that for some reason to complete the job. But anyways, in this case, we're going to go in and diagnose the car properly because the alternator did not fix it, and there's a few other things that it could be. And so now, after the repair, we're going to diagnose it. So let's do it. All right, we got a problem. Problem is, this car's not charging. That's bizarre. The battery light went off. See if that battery light's back on. That battery light is back on. Wow. Well, it looks like we have a situation where the car's not charging. Let's check the belt. Like I said, we always want to put eyes on the belt, make sure it's spinning right. See if we can see, got our hose right in our way there. That's looking good. There's only 3 pulleys we're concerned with. The alternator's spinning, AC compressor's spinning. It's running true on the balancer. That's all good. Make sure we're nice and plugged in. It's hard to see it, but we are plugged in. Our 3-pin connector right there is plugged in. Very difficult to see. And so what are we gonna do now, huh? Looks like we're gonna have to diagnose the car. Well, son of a gun, you know, this is what I'm talking about. When you just, hey, let's throw an alternator at it. Maybe that'll fix it. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a possibility this is a bad alternator. There's that possibility. But there's also a possibility it's not being commanded to charge. You know what we're gonna do first? We're gonna start by turning it off, and we're gonna check codes. We're gonna check the codes on the car and see what we've got. Yeah, that battery light's on. That's bizarre, it wasn't on when we first started it. I thought it was gonna be fixed. Well, let's get the scanner out and see what we see. What, are we gonna have a P0562? I don't know. Let's do a full system scan. We're always gonna do a full system scan. If you have the option. Some older cars, you don't have the option. You go out module by module is the only choice there. I have not scanned it. This is my first time in, so I'm here witnessing with you guys. Let's see what we see. I don't know what we're gonna get. Pre-scan. Generator control circuit. P0620. Generator control circuit. Okay, generator control circuit is going to be the circuit that is the PCM calling the generator to... Now, an alternator is also referred to as a generator. The only difference between an alternator and a generator is that an alternator has a diode rectifier bridge inside of it, so it changes the voltage from alternating current to direct current. Vehicles are all automotive is they're run on direct current, but a generator puts out alternating current voltage like what's in your house, but it needs to be changed to direct current. Otherwise it'll freak everything out. Alternating current goes positive, negative, whatever voltage you're running at, it's oscillating between positive and negative constantly, so our alternator changes that to a direct current. So this says generator control circuit, so that's making me think we're going to need to do some testing at the we're going to need to do some testing at that little 3-pin connector and see if we have the voltage commanded by the PCM. P0620. I'm looking down in other modules and just seeing if the, low battery voltage, we can expect that because we've been dealing with a low battery voltage situation. Low battery voltage at module. So all of these things, most of these codes pertain to low battery voltage. And we know the thing's gone dead. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to clear all the codes. And we're going to see if it comes back. Sometimes you can get away with just code clearing. A lot of times once a fault sets, the PCM will go into some sort of a default mode and it says, hey, we have an issue with this circuit, so we're going to stop even trying, right? And so we're going to key it back on, continue, and then we're going to clear all the codes and all the modules, okay? And then we're going to check it again. We're going to check for our charging voltage again. Hopefully, it just starts charging and I don't have to diagnose this car. But if I do have to diagnose the car, it's kind of one of those I told you so moments where you don't just want to go throwing parts at the car because you think it might be something. Hey, it's got no charging voltage. Must need an alternator. No. If it's got no charging voltage, it's time to test voltage drops from the battery to the alternator and then check for your command. Now, the fact that we have a 620, that's a control circuit issue, that's going to make me think that we're probably dealing with something on the PCM side. We might have a broken wire to the to that alternator 3-pin connector. And maybe it is just an alternator. Maybe we clear codes here. Maybe we clear the codes here and everything's happy. So key it off. Okay, so I've got a jumper cable connected to the alternator positive post. I've got the jumper cable connected to the battery. And I've got the voltmeter on engine ground and on battery positive, okay? Now we're gonna start it. If we see charging voltage when we start the engine, this means that there's a bad cable. If we see no charging voltage, then we might have a control command issue. Remember, the code was for alternator control, but the computer's not that smart. The computer only knows that it's commanding voltage and it's not seeing voltage back. So with what we found with that 10 volt drop across that cable, I'm thinking we're going to see charging voltage here. 13.5, 13.6, 13.7. Be nice to see 14. We know the battery's at 11. It should be commanding full field voltage. I would like to see 14.2. 13.7, 13.8. Okay, so we can charge. We have a working charging system if we have connection from B positive to A positive. So our voltage drop of 10 volts proved that the issue is either the cable or the fuse. So now I go to get a schematic and find out where the fuse is, check the fuse. That would be the easiest repairs if we can find that there's a bad fuse. Bottom line though, guys, this car did not need an alternator. This was all wasted money to put an alternator in a car because a simple voltage drop test was not performed before the alternator was installed. Diagnosis, man, diagnosis. This guy's out $500 on a repair that he didn't need, and now the repair he does need, that would have been the total bill plus the diag, is going to be additional. All right. Okay, so I checked the schematic. Now what I found was there is no fuse. There's no fuse for this alternator circuit. What they have is a fusible link. What a fusible link is, it's an inline piece of lead wire, and when it gets too hot, it melts instead of blowing like a typical fuse, so it has to be wired in. I had to take the airbox back out. You can see, you know, airbox back out so I could follow this cable down, cut the sheathing open, and find my fuse link. They call it gray and black wire. That was the gray and black shielding, and you can see the damage. This fusible link is blown. I think there was one strand holding on that was able to give us that 0.9 volt. Anyway, this is the link. It's soldered in here to the cable, and then in here. So I'm gonna have to cut that back. I'm gonna have to splice this in. I'm gonna get that repair done. I don't got time. This is not gonna be on the video, but I'm gonna fix that fusible link, and I know that if I fix that link, we're gonna have charging voltage. So that, you know, and you got to think, you know, if that fusible link blew, there's a good chance that alternator was overcharging and creating an overheat condition on this cable. Maybe had high resistance of some sort inside. So there's a good chance it actually needed that alternator. We didn't do the testing before, so we don't know, but fixing this fuse link is what's going to fix this car. So I'm going to get this all fixed up, soldered in, and then at the end of that, I'll show you our charging voltage. Should be right back at 13.7, I'd imagine, right? Maybe a little higher. This will be a better contact than those jumper cables were. But in any event, if you are going into something like that, get that battery disconnected again. This end of the fuse link will be hot, 12 volts. Anyways, just want to show you what I found. Okay, so I finally got some more time. Got back to this thing. It had a fusible link in line, so I had to cut open the harness. You know, this was the failure. Instead of installing another fusible link, I went ahead and just installed a serviceable fuse. So if we have any other issues, you got your fuse block down there bolted to the battery tray, spliced in a couple eyelets, and tied in down there at the main cable after the fusible link. So we're going to do our final charging system test so that we can be done with this alternator job. 11.95. We're going to start it up. Battery light goes out. Criminy sakes. Okay, no battery lights. Come back over here and look at that. With the cable hooked up, we're over 14 volts, right where we want to be. No problems there. So our alternator job and wiring repair is complete. You know, there's a good chance that this alternator was in fact bad and got hot and was the cause of the fusible link failure. Without prior diag, it's hard to know. All we know is that now we have a charging system, everything's working, and we're gonna call that a wrap. See you guys in the next video.